Yeah.
You had a lot of, I know we were under time constraints, but you had a lot of big concepts in there and a lot of heavy-duty words in there, like inflation. I found that inflation is really hard for students to grasp. You gave a good example and whatnot, but we kind of flew over it. And I guess what I'm saying, just be aware of your heavy words, and that you may have to spend some more time on those, just to address. Are you sure you understand this? Do you have it? Do you have it? You know, and I know that you originally were going to come back to it. No. High inflation, yes you were. But just make sure they understand some of those heavy-duty words that you were coming up with. You are calm, but let's turn up the volume some on your presentation style. Because a couple times it's like, all right, let's move, let's get going, Chris. Come on, turn up the volume. You're at like a 3, like you at a 9. You know, a little excitement. And one sorry is enough.
Yeah, stop apologising and stop saying it's complicated. Because if you tell me it's complicated, and I think we had about 3 or 4 times, and so you owe me like 3 beers now. So every time you need to say complicated, I got something. I didn't know we were playing that game. We did. So you don't have to say, because sometimes if I hear complicated, I'll go, oh no, it's going to be really hard, and I'm already collapsing in on myself, going, it's too much, it's too much. Just say, we're going to do this, we've got it all set, boom, boom. And I think the pace in there, I think the idea is, you're aware of the time, and then sometimes you go, we're aware of the time, and then the calmness works, but then you could just quickly talk a second, you know, it's like, so let's get going. And it's not the volume to me necessarily that loud, it's the actual cadence at times, so you can be calm, and then when you want to go, let's go guys, ooh, okay, that type of thing, I think.
Yeah, and the level 3 and 9, that's not volume, that's your excitement level. You know, and some key word like mine is always hurry, hurry, you know, and, you know, they then get that we need to go. You know, we've got a lot of stuff, let's move.
Because you tell us we haven't got a lot of time, but then you're still so calm.
Yeah.
We haven't got much time to go, okay, which is a good thing, but you could go, chop, chop, busy, busy, bang, bang. That's right.
I'm sorry, I didn't get that.
We'll do it again.
Yeah.
Later. All right, other pushing feedback, Jeremy, keep us on track.
You
got none? Hearing none? Comments? Go on, Matt. Hurry up.
I think the only other thing I had to say was, when I mentioned to you earlier, like, you know, if this is a shortened class and if this is a truncated lesson, then you have choices to make. One is to speed up and talk faster and get as much in as possible, and the other is to cut things out. And I don't think it was cutting the activity out at the end that would have been the choice, but maybe cutting out some of the concepts that you went over, or one other person, and do that another day, and just kind of find the time to then put that in another place. That way you can spend the time on, because if you have big words like reparations, or not reparations, what was it? Inflation, and what did Germany pay?
Appeasement.
Reparations, right? Germany paid reparations?
Yeah,
okay, that thing. Like words like that. I mean, like those are, you know, big, ridiculous words that sometimes we don't get. So each one of those kinds need a little bit of time itself. And so if you don't have the time, you just save some of those for another day. And I think that's something, you know, but you'd already thought about ways that you could maneuver this again, so it would be, I guess, it wasn't a bad lesson at all, but just something that would be a little bit more in depth.
Another option is just to have a list of words on the wall, or that you have, and say these are what we're going to be covering, and we're going to check what you've got as you go. So appeasement, reparations, and all the kids have it in front of them, and every time they hear it, they've got to check it off, and it's just like we stop and go, what does that mean again? Oh yeah, and that's your word wall. So you keep playing with it, and so these are the key words that you're going to be hearing from me. You may not get them the first time, because there's always the danger of spending hours on this word, and then they don't get the big picture. Because I was liking getting the big picture, but then it's like every time I mention this, 3 beers all the way around. No, you know what I mean? So it's like, we hear it again, what does that mean again? And it's that playing with the language and playing with the word, and you see it up there. Because this one there's so much going on. I would say not overwhelmed with the words, but recognise that they're using them all the time as you have in your checklist, but have them visible, because you're going to keep coming back to them all the time.
My last thing, I saw you catch yourself up there about the guiding question, and you're Well, two things. One, you turn your back on the group while they were presenting, which may have sent a message like, well, he really didn't hear what I have to say. I don't know. Their self-esteem is pretty low, so. But you caught yourself there, you know. So just be, you know, writing question up and refer back to it throughout the lesson if it makes sense to you.
And the final thing, just on your objectives, use action verbs. We talk about essential understandings, but then break it down, and I think students will be able to, and we all described. We were describing, identifying, discussing. Those are the key words that I think you should be using. Try to avoid understand when we get into the objectives. Comments back, Christopher.